So over the weekend, I did a video talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 in 2025 and what I have thought about the system thus far. Now, obviously, that was a sample size of roughly 6 or 7 months of the system, and the upcoming 6 or 7 months is going to be very interesting for the Nintendo Switch 2. I did say in that video I wanted to talk about 2026 as well, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's video, the good and the potential issues that may arise for Nintendo in 2026 with the Switch 2. Because looking at the first party games, I definitely have some questions about it, especially from a personal perspective, which I mean, that's why you're watching this video, to hear what I have to say about it. So let's talk about the good and the kind of questionable with the Switch 2 in 2026. But first, I'm going to give a huge thank you to today's video sponsor. I'm 40, I'm single, and I can't cook. I shouldn't eat fast food every day. That doesn't sound like a good idea. I need to be having nourishing meals with real food and real ingredients and things that are also healthier for me for my wellness. Well, that's where today's video sponsor comes into play, Factor. Here we go. Factor delivers fresh, never frozen, chef-crafted, and dietitian-approved meals straight to your front door, and they're ready to eat in just about 2 minutes. Designed to support your wellness journey, Factor eliminates stress around cooking, planning, or cleanup so you can stay focused on your goals. There's over 100 rotating weekly options to choose from meals and salads to breakfast shakes. They're real food with real ingredients as well, and I mean, the convenience is just unmatched. Skip the prep work and the cleanup. You simply heat up the meal in the microwave for about 2 minutes or so, and out comes a great looking and great tasting meal that is second to none. So head on over to factor75.com or click the link below and use code RGTFB50 to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code RGTFB50 at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free breakfast for 1 year. A huge thank you to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Alright, so of course we're going to talk about first-party titles for the Nintendo Switch 2 in 2026 to kick this video off. We know about Animal Crossing New Horizons, Nintendo Switch 2 edition. I mean, it's cool. You know, I don't have any beef with it or anything like that. You know, I think it's nice that there's going to be some 4K support and mouse controls, which I think will be very handy. However, I'm still not really interested in Animal Crossing New Horizons. I was a huge Animal Crossing fan on the GameCube and the Nintendo DS, but it just kind of felt like the system that Animal Crossing instituted never really evolved all that much. I do know that they've changed things up, but all of the subsequent entries kind of after the DS just kind of fell flat for me, and I don't think the additional stuff in Animal Crossing New Horizons is going to do much to make me want to play it. Now, I do understand that Animal Crossing is a huge franchise now, and New Horizons is by far the most successful game, so I completely understand why Nintendo is deciding to do this with a Switch 2 edition of the game, but it just doesn't hit for me personally, so I can't be too excited about it. We also have Mario Tennis Fever coming out, and this is actually something I will pick up. One of the problems with Mario Tennis Aces on the Nintendo Switch was the fact that they kind of stripped a lot of the stuff, like the RPG elements, out of the game, and they made it like a drip feed of content, which they actually did with pretty much every Mario sports game on the Nintendo Switch 1, and I did not like that. It felt like the game was trying to get you to continually play it, but you tend to get bored if you only have a limited amount of characters or arenas or different things that you can do. Whereas Mario Tennis Fever seems like it's going back to how the Mario Tennis franchise used to be. You know, it had its roots on the Game Boy Color, of course, and that was like an RPG style adventure with tennis gameplay as well. And I'm definitely enjoying what I've been seeing from this game. I think this is going to be a really fun game. Ranked matches and stuff like that are going to be really cool as well. So this is a game that I'm actually very excited for, and is, to me, probably the most anticipated game for the Switch 2 when it comes to announced first-party titles, because the next game we're going to talk about, oh boy, and it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me how there are still so many people that are like so excited for this game and have such high expectations and high hopes for it. I, of course, am talking about Pokemon Pokopia. I say Pokopia, and if that's wrong, I don't want to be right. But Pokemon Pokopia just, I mean, there's nothing attractive. It looks like a bad Dragon Quest Builders and Harvest Moon style game. Like a bad version of that. It's just, oh, look, we'll just throw Pokemon in here and people will buy it. You know, graphics be damned. These low resolution textures, who cares? It's a $70 game key card. They will buy what we put out there. And to me, this is just like, this to me is like a social test. It's like a social test done by Nintendo and the Pokemon Company to see what they can get away with. Can they get away with making a game as that looks just so drab like Pokopia does at $70 and a game key card, so they don't have to, you know, they could do this with other games as well and people will buy it? Because if this game is successful, that's kind of what's going to happen. And I know it will be successful because it has Pokemon slapped on there. And you could crap in a box and write Pokemon on the side of it, and people will buy it. But Pokopia just, man, this game is the antithesis of me. Like, it represents everything that people complain about when it comes to Nintendo and Nintendo Switch 2, you know? Oh, they don't try with Pokemon games. Oh, I don't like game key cards. I don't like $70 games. Yet they'll all swallow their pride and buy this game. Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave is another first-party Nintendo Switch 2 game, and this is something I'm interested in. I do enjoy the Fire Emblem series. I'm definitely not as big of a fan as some other people are, but this is definitely a close second when it comes to my most anticipated games. I will put Mario Tennis Fever a little bit ahead of it, but I think this game looks really good. You know, it's got a nice graphical style. It's got the tried and true strategy RPG Fire Emblem gameplay. They didn't really try to deviate too much from what the game is known for and what the game is founded upon, the basic principles of it. And I think it's a really cool looking game. And the final game is Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. I don't like this art style. Like, I understand kind of what they're going for with it, but I'm just not a huge fan of the overall art style of this game. You also have Tomodachi Life coming out in the first portion of 2026. That is a Switch 1 game, but it will work on the Switch 2. So from a quantity perspective, I think Nintendo does have a lot of titles, you know, especially comparative to something like Xbox or PlayStation when it comes to their first party stuff. But a lot of these games are just misses for me personally. And I understand that there are people that are probably, you know, over the moon about the Switch 2 version of Animal Crossing and Yoshi and the Mysterious Book and Pokopia, but I have to speak from a personal perspective of what I want to play. And it just seems kind of like a little bit more of that filler stuff, you know, kind of like how I felt about Kirby Air Riders being kind of that weird filler game. Like a game like Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, it's obvious what this game is. It's just there to kind of fill a gap. But now we're starting to look at almost the first full year. And obviously, there'll be a Nintendo Direct sometime probably in February or something like that. But more than likely, those games that are going to be talked about are not going to be releasing until, you know, you have to say at least the summertime. So when it comes to the Switch 2, as far as first-party titles are concerned, I mean, Mario Tennis Fever I'll buy and Fire Emblem I'll buy, but I don't know that I'm super interested in the other stuff. And that's kind of weird when you think about it, because when you think about the first year for the original Nintendo Switch, like, yeah, I get it. That you had Breath of the Wild, and, like, that was it for a while. But once you look at the full year, I mean, even really the first 9 months, 10 months of the system, you had so much stuff. You had the Splatoon 2, you had Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you had Super Mario Odyssey, like heavy titles there. And it just feels like we're not quite seeing that with the Switch 2, much like we saw it with the Switch 1. And that's okay, as long as on the back end of 2026, there's, you know, some solid, more tentpole first-party games. And honestly speaking, the third-party games are going to be feeding me on the Nintendo Switch 2 as far as, like, what I'm excited for, because that's where things actually get get really, really good. Resident Evil Requiem coming day and date with a super attractive looking version of the game. Like, I will be buying this on the Switch too. I will be playing through it on the Switch too, because from what we have seen thus far and the off-screen gameplay, it seems like it's running extremely well, and it seems like it's a very visually impressive game running on the Switch too. We have seen the RE engine running on the platform, and, you know, things have been good so far, and I expect that to continue with this game. You can also throw Pragmata in there. I'm not interested in Pragmata, but Capcom is definitely firing on all cylinders. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, a big Xbox title. Now, I did play this game and beat it on the original on the Xbox Series X, I should say. And this was one of my favorite games of 2024, like by far. I'm interested to see how this port is, though, because this is a great game, but I am a little bit concerned about how it's going to turn out on the Switch 2, like what they'll have to kind of cut back on. But if this is able to stand, you know, at least in the same realm as what the game has been on other platforms, like, I think that's a huge, huge win. Of course, you have Elden Ring Tarnished Edition. I don't really care about that. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade coming out in January. I'm buying that. Like, it's $40. Why wouldn't I buy it? I never played the Intergrade content. I was definitely pretty impressed with the demo that we got for Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. It actually looks fantastic when you got like the HDR and crap on. Like, it looks so, that's the one thing I love about the Switch 2, is that games can actually look really, really good on my big ass 4K HDR, you know, 120 hertz television, where, you know, Switch 1 games, a lot of those games looks kind of crusty when, you know, it was a matter of playing them on the TV, but you're not really getting that with the Switch 2. They actually look really good. You can also talk about games like Final Fantasy VII, or Dragon Quest VII, I should say. Reimagine, that looks awesome. 007 First Light, Monster Hunter Stories 3. Like, the third parties, for me, are going to be carrying. And that's kind of crazy to think about. Now, obviously, that's all the stuff that we know about, but I definitely feel like you're going to see a lot more third-party games on the Switch 2 in this upcoming year, because of the fact that it seems like there's more dev kits out there and stuff like that. And besides just the, you know, a little bit, I wouldn't say concern, but just kind of like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the right word here. I would say just kind of meh. The somewhat meh first party offerings from Nintendo in the first portion of 2026, at least we know about. You do have to wonder about that price increase, because we know for a fact that it's costing Nintendo substantially more to create the Nintendo Switch 2 now than it was in the past. And at some point in time, that's going to have to pass on to the consumer as well. And that's kind of a concern going forward. And, you know, I'm sure that's something Nintendo will have to navigate. And it's like, well, you know, what's going to be the breaking point for people? Not with just the Nintendo Switch 2, but for the whole entire video game industry as a whole. We talked about it on the Xbox video yesterday. That system's going to go up in price. PlayStation 5 is going to go up in price. It's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's really a matter of when it's going to happen. And when it does happen, I mean, like, what will the reception be? Will people still be excited to buy consoles? Will consoles still continue to sell at a decent clip? I mean, you got to remember, the Nintendo Switch 2 is the fastest selling console out of the gate. But then you look at those Black Friday sales and the November stuff with the NPD charts, and the PlayStation 5 outsold it in the United States. Now, obviously, once you factor in other regions such as Japan, the Nintendo Switch 2 is still doing extremely, extremely well. It's definitely nothing to be super concerned about or anything like that. But I think a price increase could start to have more of a conversation about concern with it. And really, the main thing is, I want Nintendo to do a direct. And I want them to be like, hey, here's a big first-party game. You know, I want to see the next Mario. Will Nintendo do anything for Zelda's 40th anniversary? I think you're getting a Twilight Princess Wind Waker 2-pack. I really think, after Galaxy 1 and 2, I think that's what they're going to do. It'll be a $70 2-pack. And then I guess, like, you could buy them a la carte like you could with the other things. So if you have, you know, GameCube, online. You know, you have Wind Waker on there, but I think that's the route they're gonna go with this, because I mean, obviously another mainline Zelda game is nowhere near ready, so you kind of got to look at Mario and kind of assume that like he's going to be the star of the show. I guess there's also Splatoon Raiders. I didn't mention that, but I don't know, Nintendo got really quiet with that game. Like that game seemed like it was coming out this year, and then they just kind of stopped talking about it. But I think it'll be an interesting year for the company. I think, you know, we'll see a lot more games. We'll see a lot more third-party ports and stuff like that, and it'll be very fun. But I'm curious, you know, overall with the overall video game landscape. Once these price, you know, hikes start coming in, like what ends up happening? You know, at least unlike Xbox, Nintendo does have a very clear vision of where they want to go and what they want to do. So I think that's a positive for them. And I'm cautiously optimistic for 2026. I do feel like 2025 was a bit soft, but I think by the end of 2026, like we'll be in full motion with this thing. Like it'll be firing on all cylinders, and it could be very interesting. You know, it could end up being something that, you know, exceeds people's expectations as far as what they're actually able to get out of this hardware when it comes to both first and third-party games. But those are just my thoughts on the subject matter. I'd like to hear yours as well. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. Shoutouts to Factor for sponsoring today's video. They actually really helped me out, because I got those meals in the day before Christmas, and I went over to my grandma's house, and I came home from my grandma's house, and we had a massive snowstorm, and I hadn't been grocery shopping in a while, so I was pretty much living off of those Factor meals. And like, bro, that bison burger, the bison burger meal, that was some next level. That was so good. That was so good. Check out the link in the description box or in the pinned comment in the comment section down below to get some freebies and good stuff with Factor. And as always, guys, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.